This is Jordan Poyer, safety for the Buffalo Bills, and you are now listening to Cover One Buffalo Podcast. Let's go.
Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo Podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Tompsett, and my partner in crime, Aaron Quinn. Aaron, is your heart functional?
I don't care about anything anymore.
I'm so just like flabbergasted is the right word. Like I sat there dead silent, just staring at my projector in the basement. Like we had pulled the comeback. Josh Allen led the game-winning touchdown drive. They were just running out the ridiculous fall into your left Hail Mary into the end zone. Never works. That we got Hail Married. I don't understand what happened.
I have no idea. Yeah, I mean, it works. You don't see it a lot, but every year somebody gets one of these plays. I said it in the Slack channel, man. I said this game ain't over until it hits 0-0-0-0. You know, and I don't know if that's just the 20 years of 20 plus years of just being let down and beat up by this team. But ultimately, we'll talk about this, man. It was a fun ending. It was an entertaining game. Oh. The Bills didn't deserve to win this game.
No, you know what I mean? Outplayed them.
And we'll talk about that. But so the fact that they even had a lead with that many, 40-something seconds left was incredible. But then to lose it like that, man, I was the same as you. I just fell into my couch. Silence came over my house. I think my kids were scared of what I was going to do when it happened. My wife was pretty scared. But it just, I don't know, man. I guess I'm numb to it now. I just kind of didn't have any words and just, I don't know, man.
Yeah, so let's go through today. Obviously, today's show is sponsored by our friends at Uncle Jumbo's. Appreciate them presenting today's show and certainly needed today. So I encourage you to enjoy some Uncle Jumbo's. Find it wherever you need it. Today is the day to enjoy some of that. So obviously, the Buffalo Bills have lost 32-30 to the Arizona Cardinals on a 43-yard Hail Mary as time expired, or technically with 1 second left. And this was a weird roller coaster of a game. So we'll run through some of the different pieces like we normally do. But, at times the Bills had taken a 23-9 lead. I thought that was going to hold. The Cardinals did score first, but then the Bills really controlled the game through the rest of it. And then all of a sudden you saw a couple things here. And obviously we're going to go as far as Josh Allen takes us. And today wasn't Josh's best game. He had, the PFF uses the turnover-worthy plays. He got lucky a lot early. There should have been 2 or 3 other interceptions. And
Peterson
then eventually,
had 2 at least.
Oh, yeah, Peterson could have had 3 and ended up having the third one that he caught.
Yeah. Right here, Mark Stack says, defense absolutely cost us the game with the interceptions for Allen. I couldn't disagree.
The defense kept us in that game.
Yeah,
they
for the entire second
Kyler
half.
Murray.
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals got back in the game in the second half, but the defense gave the Bills a number of opportunities to get the lead back, and obviously it came down to that last 2 drives for both teams. But the defense did enough to win this football game, especially when you look at what this offense.
Yeah, 26-23, it was interception, 3 and out. Like they gave the offense their only opportunity.
Yeah, I thought the defense did a really nice job, especially in the modern NFL. You weren't going to keep the Cardinals out of the end zone, holding them to field goals early. I thought they did a good job. Maybe they had a few hiccups along the way, but the offense did no favors for them and got them the ball back continuously. I thought, we're going to talk about drive of the game later, and I thought there's an argument to be made for a couple of the defensive drives, the ball back in prime times, but then the offense didn't do anything with it, so you can't really make it a drive of the game. So I thought the defense did okay, especially considering the weapons and considering how with the COVID stuff, man, they were down to the thing I wanted to see the least, Darryl Worley playing football for the Buffalo Bills. So all things considered, I think if there's any one guy to blame, it's got to be Josh and the turnovers and just a sloppy game.
Well, with 11 seconds left in the game, the Bills had held Arizona to 26 points. If you told me coming in that they were going to hold Arizona to 26, right, I would have bet on them to win. I would have said, great, I think we're going to win. I think
and the win probability was like 92.8 at that point.
Yes, so. Yes, they were all the way there. So let's go through it with Josh. So 32 of 49 for 284, 2 touchdowns, including what could have been a heroic, miraculous game-winning touchdown. Caught a touchdown. Still completed 65%. Vance Joseph had his number. A lot of the plays, I don't think that Brian Daboll had a great second half. No. They've continued to struggle in the third quarter. A fair amount of that was on Josh Allen as well. He was checking into bad plays. He was getting tricked. The couple times that they had answers, that Daboll gave him an answer, they did the gold whip with the audible call, and it was a fake, and it was going to be a shot up the seam. Well, Vance Joseph anticipated that coming, and he faked for the all-out blitz and only sent 4 and had 4 of the guys drop back, and it wasn't there. And so any of the time that they even did adjust, they were still a half step behind. So Vance Joseph really impressed me in this game, the way that he was able to disguise things. So Josh ended up running for 38 yards. He caught a touchdown. It wasn't all bad. He certainly had some strong plays and brought them back in what could have been the game-winning drive at the end, but they wouldn't have needed to do that if he could have had some sustainable plays earlier and could have avoided those turnovers. The Bills were in control of this game and should have held on, but it wasn't, back to 2018 or even last year, bad Josh, when he's still completing 65%, 284, 2 touchdowns, rushing for 38, catching a touchdown. This is a pretty good floor if that's his bad game, but sadly, this is one of his bad games.
Yeah, and the 23-9, then 26-23, it seems it's a little misleading, right? Because it's still a 2-score game, right? Like that happens in the NFL. Teams can score quickly, so you can have a few hiccups. If you have 1.5 drives, 2 drives that don't result in points, you can give a team like the Arizona Cardinals a chance to get back in the game, which they did, and they had their best stretch there in that third quarter. Even though the Bills were able to score in the third quarter today, the Cardinals answered and did a better job in that. So I do think there was a bit of a hiccup. The problem for me is this offense, and I think some of it will fall on Daboll when we see the all-22, but I think a lot of it's going to fall, again, we talk about it a lot, on the execution of the offense. The inability to get running game. I know Daboll keeps taking the responsibility on, I got to call better plays. It doesn't seem to matter what the play call is. It doesn't seem to get any kind of a running game going. So I don't know how much that is on Brian Daboll or versus on the offensive line, whatever's going on, but the inability to get a running game going when you had that lead. And I know fans don't want to hear about that at getting conservative and stuff, but it'd be nice to take some of the pressure off the passing game once in a while, especially, like you said, Vance Joseph dialing up blitzes, confusing Josh and their defensive backs getting in the way, getting their hands on balls. Plus you put that with the Bills playing pretty sloppy penalty-wise. I don't have the final numbers right now on penalties in front of me, but all those things combined. We're
talking about it here, the lack of discipline was frustrating.
Yeah, and you combine all that stuff on the road, it's not crazy to lose a 2-possession or 2-score lead to a good offense. That's not a crazy thing in the NFL right now, and that's what good offenses do. They can get you back in a game. The Bills have done it,
Yeah, they've been at both ends of this kind of game and come back in both directions. But, you touched on it. The running game was bad. 7 carries for 20 yards for Zach Moss, 4 carries for 15 yards. I think a lot of people would ask, is 11 carries enough to get the ball going? Several of those Josh Allen runs were designed runs. They had a couple with the designed draws, and a couple of those hit, when Josh had it there and saw it obviously available, but they just have not been able to get the run game going. So I think part of that could be Mitch Morse. I think he's making some good calls and making adjustments when he's there. I'm hopeful. Obviously, he was active and available today. I'm actually happy that they held him out and didn't use him in this game, but getting him back in there, getting Ford available, getting Feliciano back at his natural position, I'm going to tell myself that that's going to allow them to get the running game going, but it needs to. to, because that's been a significant gap here for a while now. And it's besides that Patriots game, we really haven't had a good rushing attack since maybe the efficiency we had in the Raiders game all the way back.
Yeah, and that's all I need is efficient run game. I don't need.
Yeah, I don't want 40 carries.
No, we don't need a superb running game. We don't need a Dalvin Cook. I just want to be able to every once in a while to keep a defense honest and to keep them off the ability to just go back and rush the passer and play in his own. Have that ability on a first down or 2nd and 8 to get ahead of the chains, make those drives more manageable, and pick up 4 yards. I'm not asking for world beaters here. I'm saying let's get 4 yards a carry, get somewhere around there. Instead, we're not getting that. We're getting a lot of runs on 2nd and 8. And it's 3rd and 8, that's unacceptable. And then you end up going away from that run game. You become overly one-dimensional. And one-dimensional is fine when you're dealing like the Bills were a week ago. But when the offense is stuttering, you have to have that balance to keep the chains moving, to keep ahead of schedule. And without it, man, you saw, again, some of the hiccups that the offense had today where when the passing game wasn't working for them, they had nothing to lean back on.
Yeah, when Vance Joseph countered and was bringing those disguised blitzes, they needed to be able to answer with some sustainable running game. They needed to be able to keep them honest. They had no concern with any runs to the outside or anything getting around the blitz. And several of them, they brought the blitz into run fits, and anytime they tried to open it up, it ended up making it worse. So that needed to be an option for them, and to be able to bring it back to identify, hey, we have that as a counterpunch. It's not all of a sudden going to shift it to be a run heavy team, but being able to just give that option so that Josh didn't feel like he had to try to win the game or try to press the ball down the field. I think that interception when they were having all the penalties, or that Dawson Knox brought that penalty back. There should have been the free play for 20 yards to Devin Singletary. I don't know if Josh feels the need to press the ball down the field like that if they don't get into that position. So I think he wasn't put in a great spot today to have to do that. I'd like him to still be able to control his emotions and not press with the ball and not take those chances that he did. But I think he was put in a bad position with the penalties and the lack of a running game. I think getting into the receiver end of things, it's hard to have a lot of frustration because Cole Beasley was phenomenal. Stephon Diggs, 10 for 93 and what should have been the game-winning touchdown. Cole Beasley, 11 for 109 and a touchdown. John Brown hobbled and still had 6 for 72. That top three, I'm glad that John Brown was moving on the sideline. It didn't need to be carted off or anything more serious. So I'm hopeful that after the bye week we get him back. But the receiving core was the star of this game. I thought that they really shined, and especially Cole Beasley.
Yeah, Beasley had his best game of the year. That catch on 3rd down, one-handed one where he just went up and got it. He played way bigger than he is on that play. And I
think he had 2 third-down conversions that drive.
Yeah, but that one specifically, man, I've seen him make a lot of nice catches, but they're usually going to the ground, getting small. That was like a big guy wide receiver play. So good on him. He balled out. Diggs did what Diggs does. A ton of nice catches. Nothing really crazy yards after the catch, but then what we thought was the game winner. Brown was having a really nice day. Yeah. It's unfortunate that play he got hurt, and then that play also got called back. That probably would have put him close to 200, close to 100 yards. He ended with 75 72 yards, 72. So that would have put him close right there. You could have had 3 receivers hovering right around 100 yards. That would have been crazy. Outside of that, though, I thought one of the things when we've seen this Bills offense operate its best, love is getting spread around. Yeah. Lots of guys are contributing. We saw top heavy from this offense, which is fine because I love the top 3 of these receivers, but we didn't see anything from Gabe Davis. We didn't really see much from Dawson Knox in the tight end game. There was just not a lot of other contributors in the passing game outside of those top 3. And when we've seen this offense operate at its best and dominate other teams, it's that ball spreading around, everybody's feeding. And I do think that's the path to success if you're going to be so pass heavy and have no rush game.
Yeah. And I don't think the Drake Kirkpatrick interception was Gabe Davis's fault. I would have loved to have seen him fight back, coming back towards the ball and attack the ball a little bit. I don't think he's
good trail technique.
I think that an experienced receiver that ball is broken up, and it's not as easy of Drake Kirkpatrick cutting him off underneath. I think if that's Beasley or Brown or Diggs, they come back to the ball and the two of them collide, and it's a tip pass. It was a really good play by Kirkpatrick, but I was a little frustrated with Gabe Davis. There was just a couple times that I think he's still learning the nuances of the game. It shows how critical John Brown is to have as that extra weapon. Yeah. And then we don't have a tight end to count on right now. Anytime Dawson Knox did anything remotely positive, I think he had one or two decent catches at the end, multiple penalties, brought back and canceled out what should have been a great 20-yard play when we were driving. At the one point had the false start or the illegal motion because he didn't get set on the other, missed a blitz pickup on a really big one that during that crazy backwards stretch. It was painful to be able to see, and I was hopeful we'd see a bigger step forward from Dawson Knox, and I don't know that I'm ready to throw him out. I saw a couple people asking to have him cut. He's still a rookie and on a cheap contract, don't worry. But I certainly am in the camp of I'd like Tyler Kroft to be just the undoubted starter and Dawson Knox to be the backup. Tyler Kroft is the better tight end right now.
And Kroft is. I don't care what the Bills website says. I think it has Tyler Kroft listed as the tight end too. That's
the
not
snaps
true.
Don't lie.
Yeah, no. Tyler Kroft is the number one tight end, and there's some reasoning behind that too. And I think it's frustrating to watch this game and see the mistakes Dawson Knox made and see the lack of production that he's had here.
Jason pointed out here, Josh had to point him around and tell him where to line up. I counted that twice.
Yeah, for sure. And what I will say, and I will give him a little leash here, is he didn't play a lot in college. He converted in college. The same leash that we give Josh Allen in that his snap counts were way lower. His pitch count was way lower than all these other quarterback prospects coming out. Dawson Knox is that coming into the pros. He started way behind the ball compared to most other tight ends coming out. He played in a college that did not use him really at all. It was very simplified tight end position. He is one of the most raw tight end prospects. So they wanted Kroft to be the tight end one last year, and the injury just kept him off the field, which allowed Knox to play. And I think some of those big splash plays that Knox had got expectations probably higher than they should have been. But I think Kroft is the tight end one. I think Knox still has a lot to learn about being an NFL tight end. I think that I'm not mad at him. I'm not going to cut him. I think he can learn those things. It might not happen this year. It might take some time. He's a super raw prospect. I understand the frustration, but you got to just remember he's way behind the ball in terms of pitch count. I think he'll probably get there. They'll know in the next year if he's going to be a serviceable tight end or not. But Kroft is. I'm
not counting on anything from Knox. If we get anything from that in the next year, I'm going to consider it a bonus.
Yeah, but this is a great point I want to make real quick. People get frustrated when, like a Tyler Kroft or even a Lee Smith don't show up in the box score. But all these frustrating things that we saw at a Knox today, those guys don't do.
Yeah, Kroft doesn't do that.
Yeah, you need your tight end to block well, to not get penalties in bad spots. These things are important to pick up blitzes. Yes, the box scores are sexy. Yes, stiff arming dudes are super sexy. I like it too. But you really have to have the fundamentals and basics and have that foundation before you do all the sexy shit, right? Sorry for my swearing. It might be one of those nights tonight, man.
No, I mean, it's frustrating to do. So wrapping up on the offensive side of the ball, my brain tells me that the offensive line didn't play great, but they didn't give up a sack. So it wasn't horrible. I don't think that the communication was great between the five guys that they had out there. They had both Butker and Winters out there. They still had Feliciano at center. The fact that there was a ton of pressure and that Josh had to fight off sacks 5 or 6 times. It wasn't a great game, but it wasn't horrible. I think that we're not going to see the talent of this offensive line and the potential until it's all the way back where you have Deion Dawkins, Cody Ford, Mitch Morse, John Feliciano, and Darrell Williams all together with a couple games to gel. And they have a chance to do that. They have the bye to get ready, and then they have a 6-game run coming out of there. That's when I'm going to be concerned if that offensive line isn't playing well. Tonight, I thought they were average, but, they didn't give up the huge loss.
Yeah, the run game is a problem. And I don't know if that falls entirely on the offensive line. Like I said, maybe some of that's on Dable, maybe some of it's on the offensive line. I think everybody has a little bit of it baked into that. But yeah, I didn't see anything totally glaring. I know this week a lot was made out of Darrell Williams getting the PFF All-Pro team, which is great. I think he has played well. But Mitch Morse is the most important piece of this offensive line. He's the best offensive lineman on the team, in my opinion. He's the most important piece. So getting him back is going to be huge. I do think some of those blitz stuff, without seeing the tape, I'm sure some of it was on Josh. Some of it was on Feliciano. There was definitely miscommunication a number of times. Guys were coming free a few times at Josh. And luckily he has that ability to escape sacks. He could have probably been sacked 5-6 times today easily.
A couple of those, back to like the Houston playoff game last year and some of the bad games, he had a couple where I don't know that I wanted him to throw. He probably should have taken a sack on one or two of those.
That Singletary one where Singletary somehow caught the ball. I thought that was getting picked. Sure.
Yes. And that's a ball you just can't throw. You needed to just, take the sack, move on to the next play. So it's going to be a challenge to see where it is. I don't think the offensive line played great today, but I don't know that they were the biggest reason for what happened here. It was not great. But I think that, 2 starters not playing and a third one playing out of position was, obviously a major problem. So
absolutely,
it's a challenge there. Flipping over to the defensive side of the ball, at a point, I thought they were playing really well. I thought AJ Klein looked pretty good, going sideline to sideline, made a lot of different plays, got another sack. I felt like they were playing him in the middle with Tremaine Edmonds on the outside a little more than what I'm used to. Not consistently, but several times I noted it where they had Edmonds outside and using him to kind of read in the backfield and almost be a spy to the open side with Kyler Murray. So I thought that was interesting. I know it's hard for the defensive line when you have the quickest, most explosive, quarterback in the NFL and the fastest or second fastest behind Lamar Jackson. That's asking a lot. I don't know that the defensive line was great today, but there were enough plays that I thought that they did all right. And that's a hard ask when you're going against Kyler Murray. So up until that, with 11 seconds left, I was probably going to be a lot more flowering with praise of what the Bills accomplished on the defensive side of the ball. But I thought that the defensive line did all right with rallying to the ball, chasing him down, and not letting him go completely bonkers. But it was still, he still put up an awful lot of production.
He did. I thought there was that first half specifically. I thought the defensive line did a really good job. They did not really let him get going on the ground game in the first half. He got out of the pocket a few times, but they had their lanes. They had good discipline.
He was really frustrated. You saw it on his face.
Yeah, they kept him kind of hemmed in. You're not going to keep this team and him specifically hemmed in. I know a lot of fans early in the week were talking about how do you stop Kyler Murray. You don't really right now. He's playing at a level that Lamar Jackson was a year ago. And I think Lamar had one of his worst games against the Bills, but the Bills didn't stop him by any means. His team still won. He still put up points. And we saw that here today with Kyler Murray, and his team unfortunately put up more points here at the end. But even on that last play, defensive line got pressure. That pressure caused him to roll out and is what opened that play up, unfortunately. But I thought overall, I didn't see any glaring frustrations with the defensive line. I think they got beat a number of times. The ground game got them a number of times, but I wasn't particularly frustrated. I did like the way Klein played. I agree with you. I think he's played with more spunk. Confidence is a hell of a drug. He gained some, and he's playing really well. I think we haven't gotten to the defensive backs yet, but sort of in that run fit area, I think Taron Johnson had a nice game in the run fit area. He made that big tackle that caused the fumble for Drake. That was a potential turning point in the game. Didn't end up doing a whole lot, but a potential big turning point in the game. But yeah, Eric's saying both sides didn't win enough. They allowed the Cardinals to do too much, get back in that game. But I thought they did a good job of keeping Kyler Murray uncomfortable, bringing pressure. He didn't seem very comfortable sitting back in the pocket really at all, but that's the kind of player he is, man. He can get out. He's so quick. He can either do it with his legs or get out and still sling it, and he did.
Yeah, I thought the linebacking group played well again today. They had a good game last week. I thought Klein had another solid game. I thought Tremaine Edmonds looked fast. I thought that they were a part of keeping Murray in check. I think that you can put some of that third quarter rally on them, letting him get going with some of those read options. He had that stretch there. But again, towards the end, they were part of that, interception, 3-and-out, 3-and-out. They were part of that. The guy that kept the team in the game. So being able to do that was obviously a huge part of this. The secondary is tough because I thought that they played pretty well. That they didn't let them get going crazy, and up until the end, you would have been talking about 200 yards passing with an interception on Kyler Murray and no touchdowns, and you would have been talking 6 catches for 80 yards for DeAndre Hopkins and no touchdown. So it hugely skews it when you have this miraculous huge bomb at the end of the game, and you see all of our stud players go, Micah Hyde and Trey White and everybody going up for the ball, and DeAndre Hopkins just inching out over top of them. It just changes so much in a game that we probably should be praising them in how well that they played. And it just shows, how quickly these things can flip in the NFL, that it was one play away from being a good game and something that we're excited about how well, Poyer played and the other pieces. It's just frustrating when you have that miraculous play go against you.
Yeah, I think all things considered, with a lot of the context of what happened with COVID and Levi Wallace not being there. And I know fans don't like Josh Norman right now, but Josh Norman also not being there on his first potential game back, and Dean Marlowe also being out. I think that limited their abilities to do some things that they normally do as defensive backs. Dane Jackson played well, but then he got hurt, and we had to see Darryl Worley, who's been on the team for 8 days. What has he been here, 9 days or something like that? It hasn't been long that he's been in the building. He's not that good no matter how long he's been in the building. I don't think the Bills want to see him out there getting action. He whiffed on a number of plays. There's probably going to be some miscommunication stuff that we'll see when we take a look at the tape. He hasn't been here long, so it's unfair for him to be in that situation. With all that stress on the defensive backs, I thought that they played well. We got to see Micah. That was huge. I think Micah had a pretty good game. Poyer had a nice game at times. They all made mistakes in this game, but I don't know that they'll be the reason they lost because Hopkins made a totally improbable play. But I don't think the defensive backs are the reason that this team lost. If you, like you said, you take away that one play and you told me that's the stat line of this game and they held them to under 30 points, I would have been praising this defensive back group.
Yeah, and, I get it. There's so many things I want back about that final play and, Addison diving at him versus continuing to run at him, some of the different pieces. I don't know how he got the ball at that angle to go, probably 50, 55 yards in the air while he's falling away off the side. When you go there, you're talking about they all talk about his 4XL gloves. He has enormous, strong hands and is the best catch point receiver in the NFL. And he went up and got the ball. I would love if one of our guys went up over him and batted it away, but he's taller and jumps higher than all of our players. So when you say, oh, he should have jumped up and batted it away, he's taller and jumps higher. You can't go over top of the guy who's taller than you, who jumps higher, who has unbelievable hands. It's a 1 in 100 play. It's just a miraculous, amazing play that, sure, I'd love for them to do that over again. But yeah, it lined up perfectly in a miraculous ending. There's not a answer to that.
No, and it's why football's so freaking fun, right? It really is. This hurts for us, but it's why the game's so fun. We've seen these plays happen before. This isn't a new thing. The game's not over till it's over. And
it's more fun when it's Aaron Rodgers to somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a game of cliches too, and they say it's a game of inches. And that doesn't mean picking up first downs all the time. Literally, Trey White's hand was inches away from deflecting that ball and totally changing how we're talking about this game and this team tonight. I don't think I said it early in the week. I don't think a lot changes for me about this team. This is an emotional loss more than anything. It just hurts to lose that way, but it's a game of inches, man. And you got to play it to the final whistle. And all those annoying coach speak cliches came true in 8 seconds of a play here today.
Well, and I even want to say, I get it where Mac's coming from here, saying, unfortunately, we don't see these plays on our side. We see them against us way too much. That's being a Bills fan.
The Bills had a game-winning.
They just did it. Stephon Diggs just did what you're talking about. He went down and had the game-winning touchdown with 20 seconds left in the game. Like, yeah, they did this to the Cardinals. Like, yes, it sucks. That hurt really, really bad that they somehow got back down there and did that. And it counts. Like, we lost the game, but Stephon Diggs just did that. Like, he had what should have been an amazing game-winning touchdown at the corner of the end zone on a ridiculous throw from Josh Allen. Like, that was an amazing, great play, and that we're all going to let that go, out the back of our minds, like the Steve Christie, ridiculous field goal right before the Music City Miracle. Like, that's the kind of play that you don't remember because the amazing, miraculous thing happened on the other side, and it takes all the emotion out of it.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I do think the Bills have had a number. I mean, Josh Allen has game-winning drives. He has fourth quarter comebacks. The Bills have gotten plays, a ton of clutch plays over the last 4 years that led to win. So it happens for them. It just hurts when it happens against you in this manner, because you're going to see it. Bills fans, prepare yourselves. You're going to see this play over and over and over again for weeks. Probably.
That's going to be DeAndre Hopkins' career highlight. Like, that's going to be playing forever. It was amazing. Like, it sucks. It hurts. I don't want to see it a million times, but you're going to see that a million times.
Yeah. This Chris Cerrone says Bills are going to get dropped from every conversation when you remember the Diggs catch. I don't care. I don't care what the media says. The Bills still have a winning record. I know Miami won. I'm not worried. We still have a chance to play Miami. The Bills are still in control of their own destiny in terms of winning the division. They have still a huge chance to get into the playoffs. They're going into the bye. They have a chance to get healthy. If anything, I think that this loss, and I know we have to still cover some more of this game here, but I think this loss coming at this time, I'm interested in Eric and I were talking about this a little bit offline. I'm interested to see how this team responds to losing like this. And you have 2 weeks to sit on this with your self-evaluation and all that stuff. This was a hard loss, man. You saw Jordan Poyer
letting it burn,
sitting on the sideline there. He was pissed off. This team's pissed right now. And I want to see what they do in response to that, because they're going to go look at this tape and Sean McDermott's going to point out all these penalties. They're going to point out the sloppy play. They're going to point out the bad play calling on whatever, both sides of the ball. And I want to see if they fix it. And if they use this game as a catalyst to really go on this nice run that we've kept talking about here to end the season. Because I think this might be the kind of slap in the face that a team needs to really wake up and stop allowing a game like this to even get to where it was. The Bills didn't deserve to win this game because of their sloppy play and the way they played throughout that third quarter and even some of the fourth. So I hope this game inspires them. And I don't care what I hope the national media stops talking about the Bills altogether.
I like when they have the us against the world, chip on their shoulders. Yeah. I'm fine with that. I don't need them to get, that praise from everyone else to be able to feel good about it.
Just keep winning games after this.
Yeah, this game still sucks. Like, don't get me wrong. I still hurt from losing this game, but I don't really care what Skip Bayless says tomorrow morning or who tries to wave a flag and see, I told you so. They were paper tigers. Well, it's a freaking Hail Mary. Like, that's a fluky thing that sucks. I'm more frustrated that the Bills even were put into that position. They had a chance to put this game away when they, you're up 23-9, you're in a position to put this game completely away and let them answer back with a touchdown. And then you go 3 and out and let them come back down and score again. And then you throw an interception and let them score again. They had a chance to put this game away and not even be in that spot. But the back and forth, the high scoring, we knew what was going to happen in this kind of game, and it ended up coming down to that. Both of us were right there on the score, right there on how close it was going to be, and the people in Vegas were spot on. Just like they always are, that this was going to be a crazy back and forth game between two young, up and coming, imperfect quarterbacks who both made some mistakes, and it was putting them in that position. So it's frustrating. I certainly think that the Cardinals deserve to win this game. I don't think that they, ran away with anything. The Bills had a chance to, and the Bills easily could have earned this much more, but both teams put their, chips in the middle, and the Cardinals came out.
Yeah. And again, it's an emotional loss. I think it's emotional for the fan base, especially now that we have to sit for 2 weeks on this loss. But man, 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the upcoming schedule and everyone was given that narrative of how tough the Bills schedule was, if you would have told me those next 2 games they would have split, I would have been fine with a split against the Seahawks and the Cardinals. We got one. We were playing with a little bit of house money. It just hurts more because of the fashion, being up and then losing the way they did.
Yeah. So before we get into some of the remaining parts of the game, I want to put in our friends over at Uncle Jumbo's, our responsible play of the game. My vote for this was the timeout usage, both at the end of the first half to be able to get the extra possession and at the end of the game, how they were able to manage it to be able to get the ball back. I thought that there was some aggressive defensive play calling in how they approached it and how they managed the time. Obviously, at the end of the game, they don't know that Josh is going to throw the touchdown to, on that particular play. That's a 12-play, 78-yard drive, took 3 minutes and 1 second. They don't know that 21-yard touchdown is going to be the touchdown to be able to do that. So obviously, in hindsight, sure, I wish they had let a little more clock run off, as they're going through there, that they waited to take the timeout, but you don't know that in the moment. They set themselves up to be able to win the game in what we all thought was a game-winning touchdown. So I thought the timeout usage and the time management was really positive for how they handled the game.
Yeah, and they still make mistakes, like not in this particular game, but they've had some mistakes, I think, that you can nitpick this year. But it is something that Sean McDermott, when he talks about growth mindset, he's gotten a lot better over his career here as a head coach in managing time, managing games. And what I liked about those timeouts was the aggressive nature of it in the first half, trying to get the ball back, trying to get that double dip of points before you get the ball back at half. I think when he first got here, there was a narrative of trying to play not to lose games and overly conservative. And I don't know that was ever true, but he definitely has shown, in my opinion, that he's not playing and he's playing aggressive and wants possessions and wants to get as many.
You saw him on the sideline. He's saying, hurry up. We need to get the ball. We want to be aggressive and go up there to score. So I was really encouraged to see that. And I think that narrative is tired in the way that he approaches it.
I agree.
So getting back to the game plan and the way that they approached it, I thought that the special teams were a frustrating mixed bag. You're talking about an amazing opening kick by Andre Roberts, really starting it out and getting out there. Then you're looking at, Tyler Bass's career game, 54, 55, and 59-yard field goals.
And the kicks
ridiculous.
Got better as he went.
Yeah, seriously. The first one had to doink in. The second one was a little bit good, and the 59-yarder was dead center and would have been good from 65 yards. But then you compound that with multiple special teams touchdowns. Andre Roberts had 2 of his worst returns he's had of the year, where he took the ball out of the backfield, out of the end zone, which I don't mind that he does because he's aggressive with it, but he went on a weird angle. So by the time he got tackled, it was only like the 12-yard line. So that's very uncharacteristic of him, but it was bad. First, I defend Andre Roberts all the time. That was really bad. And then Corey Bojorquez has a horrible game. I'll say the 60-yarder wasn't completely on him. I thought that it checked up, and good gunners, if they had been tracking the ball better, could have stopped it from before it went in the end zone. But he gave the Cardinals 3 points with that 12-yard punt. The defense held really well, 3 and out. The defense had a 3 and out, and they gave up 3 points. Like, that's impossible to do without that 12-yard punt.
Yeah, and the Gunners did have a nice play on the one where they got Christian Kirk down at the 1-yard line, and the Bills were able to get the ball back on that next drive there. I think one thing that's going on, and teams are seeing it with the Bills, is I think the Gunners are not staying – the way the Bills play, I don't think they stay in lanes, which some teams do. They get in lanes and just cover the field. I think the Bills go to the kick returner. They go where the kick returner is, and the returners are coming up and showing that the ball is not where it is, and the ball is going somewhere else. And that's frustrating to watch, but I think that's how things are taught. I don't know enough about special teams, but that's what I see happening, that they're going to the returner and not following the ball. They're tracking the returner and not the ball, and it's causing problems. That Bojo 12-yard shank, that might have been the worst punt I've ever seen.
No rush, no pressure, nobody forcing him into a hurried, attempt trying to, every once in a while you see guys have horrible punts where you're about to get it blocked and they're out of their rhythm. It was a good snap. It was a good rhythm. Nobody was in his face. It was just a horrendous punt.
Yeah, and I think I need to GIF his immediate reaction of just.
Oh, he knew instantly.
Yeah, I need that as a GIF because I feel that a lot of the time.
So I'm really frustrated because this drive of the game should have been fantastic. There are actually multiple options. I want the drive of the game to have been the 12-play, 78-yard, 3-minute game-winning touchdown drive that gave them 30 points and put them up by 4 with 39 seconds left in the game. That should have been our best West-Her drive of the game, and this should have been a time we were celebrating. So I'm not taking it away. It's still what I want to be the drive of the game, but it's just infuriating that nobody's going to remember it.
It is. And I had tweeted out before this is the thing that everybody talks about Josh Allen, that he's a fourth quarter guy. He's clutch. Can he do it in this big moment on the road? This was a big moment for him. And the kind of talk of him potentially being on the borderline of being an MVP, he definitely hurt his chances before that drive in this game, the way he was playing. He did that drive, man. If the Bills win this game, the narrative for the next 2 weeks while the Bills are on a bye is this kid's legit. He's legit in that MVP conversation. Now they don't win. I know it doesn't change his stats or how he played.
He wasn't on the field when that touchdown that scored.
Not winning removes him from that conversation. So it just sucks that drive is totally negated by a more impressive play on the other side later. I had a contender for drive of the game. I really wanted this to be one when I saw it because we haven't given any drives of the game to the defense.
Yeah.
We've always talked about offense, which makes more sense, right? But after that terrible crap Bojo punt, the defense holds to a quick 3-and-out. And that response, it still ended in points because of it was a 12-yard punt, but it still ended in a field goal
because it was 12 yards.
Yeah, the defense came out and stood, and that was maybe one of the most impressive defensive stands that I've seen from this team because that your back's against the wall. That's adversity. You're on the road. Your punter just takes the air out of your team that way. They come out, get a huge stand. But then Josh Allen, I thought that was going to be the play, but then Josh Allen comes back and throws an interception after that. It was a terrible stretch for the Buffalo Bills here, but the defense kind of baked into that little terrible stretch, had a fantastic stand. I felt so bad for him when Josh then turned around and threw that next pick because you can't send your defense out there that many times under that type of adversity. They're going to buckle at some point.
Yeah, I like Patton here. Someone somewhere on ESPN or Fox Sports 1 is going to put that out there that, real MVP would have been out there guarding. He's the tallest guy on the team. He should have been out there going after it. I'm actually not even joking. I think he is the tallest guy on the team. Maybe one of the tight ends. I don't know. But I think Chris has a great point here. Josh's energy and the fact that going into that final drive, every single guy on that sideline believed they were going to drive down and score a game-winning touchdown. They all knew it. They had 100% faith in him. They knew if they got the ball back, they were going to be able to do that. And I think Chris makes a great point with that that's because of him. That's because of the faith in Josh Allen, because of the complete undying belief in Josh Allen that they were even in that spot and believing that and playing with that confidence. So you can't take that away of what he does to the rest of the team.
No, you definitely can't. And again, it's tough. The Bills lost. We're feeling really emotional about this. I'm sure the team is too. When they take a breath and get over this.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Should activate Duke Williams for Hail Mary defense.
When they take a breath and get over this and watch the film, there's going to be a lot of good lessons that a playoff team needs to have built into this. And what if it's going to be this drive for Josh Allen, knowing that no matter where they are in the game, if they're down by a possession, they can get the ball back to Josh. This offense can do what they did. And I think that that's a powerful feeling when you need it the most. It might be week 17. It might be, first week of the playoffs. Games are close in the NFL. There was some stat I heard a couple of weeks ago about most games, I think by over 60% are 1-score games or something like that in the NFL. So you're going to have these opportunities in most games. They're all going to be pretty close. You're going to have chances. I've never felt better about a Buffalo Bills team being down 1 score, that as long as they get the ball back 4 minutes or less, that team can score and give them a chance to win. And that's because of Josh Allen and the energy that was mentioned.
No, I think that's spot on. And that confidence is not just with the fan base, it's also with the stretch there. So for anybody, obviously we don't talk a ton about gambling on this show, but I do a fair amount of it. For Hugo's bringing up here, when Arizona didn't kick the extra point at the end, because obviously when you do kick the extra point, if it gets blocked and returned, the other team scores 2 points. So there was no benefit to Arizona kicking the extra point, except in Vegas, where a lot of books had the Bills getting 2.5. So when they didn't, the Bills actually covered in a fair amount of books by 0.5 point. So I think a lot of guys ended up missing that bet or that win because of that. So plenty had it at 1.5 and 2. Yeah, gambling on sports is bad news. Dude, don't invest any real money in gambling on sports. It's bad news. And that guy did deserve the $16,000 because you shouldn't win money on a Hail Mary. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
All right. So trying to step back and take a look at things. I know it's painful. I know that it feels like it stings worse because Miami did win. Miami beat the Chargers. And, looking at some of the other games, there were some positive things that came out of this week with the Colts beating the Titans that pushed them back. But an awful lot of the other games went, the way they were supposed to. The teams that were supposed to win, Pittsburgh handled Cincinnati pretty comfortably. Miami beating the Chargers. Vegas beat Denver. So all the teams that were in the playoff race held on and won the way that they were supposed to. The Bills are the 3 seeds still. They have a 1-game lead over Miami. They have a win in hand in Miami. They have similar schedules left. There are tough games left for both teams. There are easy games left for both teams that they should win. It is looking like that last game of the year could matter. It all depends on how it's going to come down. There's a couple, tough ones that are going to be in there. The biggest thing, we've talked a lot here. The Bills have somehow avoided big season-ending injuries while having really bad injury luck. I think that they made it out of today without having a lot of additional ones. The fact that, Dane Jackson was riding the bike on the side trying to keep his leg loose. John Brown seemed to be moving around trying to get himself back in the game. He didn't. AJ Epinesa came back after the concussion protocol check. I think they made it out of today relatively unscathed and now have the bye week that they've been needing for a long, long time. So getting this to get back healthy and then a 6-game run coming out of here. They're going to have the Chargers at home coming out of the bye. I like that with them coming across the field. A game I was petrified of early in the season, now going out to my San Francisco on Monday night isn't quite as intimidating. And then they ended on a tough run with the Steelers, the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Dolphins. But they control their own destiny. They have a lead. They're the 3 seed. They have multiple winnable games here and can put themselves in position for really good seeding and a good playoff run, a home playoff game, and a home playoff win.
Yeah, and they have a number of other tiebreakers, I think, against Miami. Yeah. As right now.
Common opponents. They beat Seattle. They beat New England.
They're 4-0 in the division, 5-2 in conference right now. So they've got things going for them. Definitely.
Miami is 1-2 in division and 3-2 in conference.
Right. So the Bills have that. Bills still have the chance to play Miami. So even if it comes down to that last game, it's still in their own control here. Let's hope it doesn't come down to the last game and they take care of business. Some nice things that are lining up for the Bills, even with this loss here, is I think the defense is fixed a lot, even though they gave up the 32 points in this game. Again, it's that big play at the end that really hurts. I think they're fixing a lot of things. I think some guys that were real big liabilities that we were talking about a month ago as just massive liabilities, and we were trying to find ways to get them off the field, that hasn't been the case. I really thought that the Cardinals would pick on Taron Johnson and AJ Klein in coverage today, and I didn't see them as liabilities a number of times here in this game. So that's good. They're going to get Levi back healthy, who, again, he got picked on early in the year. He played a couple nice games back-to-back, so it's good to see guys coming together. I think we're going to see the best of this defense here late in the year, which is a nice thing. And this offense picked up from a 4-game skid that they had and has really, they hit a couple bumps in this game, but they've done a nice job of moving the ball and getting points. You want to see some of those big explosive plays become more regular in return, but that's where you do the self-evaluating here this week on the bye, and you try to get some of that magic back and become a more balanced team overall. And I think health is going to play into that. We talked about that at the beginning of the show with the offensive line. I think that's going to be big of trying to get this run game going, getting a little more balance on that offense. It'd be nice, even if it's just for a stretch, to see that offensive line. But the Bills are very much in control of their own destiny here. And this is going to be a hard 2 weeks for fans going into the bye on an emotional loss like this, of nitpicking every little thing. Let me tell you, man, nobody's nitpicking more than the Buffalo Bills. Nobody checks more of their self than the Buffalo Bills do. The self-evaluation week is going to suck one Bills drive. Yeah,
McDermott's going to be miserable with what he picks apart with this team.
Yeah, it's going to be horrible. And hopefully they come out a better team. But my worry meter of Miami is higher than it's been, but I'm not freaking out yet. No. Them winning against the Chargers doesn't do a whole lot.
They were favored. They were supposed to win.
Exactly. And that's okay. They won that game. I think the Bills will also beat the Chargers. Yeah. So we'll have that common opponent as an even thing. So I think Miami could be a playoff team. I don't want them to get in the playoffs. I don't want to play Miami 3 times. But right now, today, I still think the Bills are the division winners. I think they're still a good playoff team with a lot on tape here this first 10 games of the season to fix, but a lot of really good stuff on tape that I think that can make you feel like they can go up with any team in this league.
Absolutely. And I think that, the Bills already having the game in hand and the game is in Buffalo, those are things in their favor. Already having the common win opponents, it'll come down to, I actually think it could be decided beforehand where they can't catch them going into that final game and are still going to be a full game up. So there's a ton of things left. I think right now, my guess, I took a look at it, I think the Bills are going to be favored in 4 out of those final 6 games. So say it just goes the way it's supposed to from a Vegas, favorite standpoint, then you're talking about the Bills ending at 11-5. I don't think that with the tiebreakers, that means Miami has to be 12-4. I think that's going to be a challenge to be able to get into that kind of position where they rattle off, finishing 6-1 the rest of the way when you're talking about games against the Chiefs, at the Raiders, and at the Bills. I think that's a tough ask to be able to get there, besides that you could slip up with the Broncos or Patriots. So there's other tough games in there that I think the Bills and Dolphins are both probably going to lose a game they shouldn't and are going to win a game against a tough opponent and are both going to finish probably, I'd guess both of them finish 4-2, and that Miami ends up being 10-6 and that the Bills end up being 11-5, and it kind of wraps up that way. I think that's a very likely position that both teams could be in.
Yeah, no matter who's behind you, Bills got to take care of their own business and not worry about what other teams are doing. You have the opportunity, again, like we said, that Miami's going to be on the schedule, but before you play them, you have a lot of business to take care of. There's so much football left, man. This could go any way. It really can. There's a lot of things that can happen. Bills need to take care of business, get healthy in this bye, come out of the bye, and take the same approach that they always have, is get that next win. They just got to stack some wins here throughout this. And I really believe if they're going to do anything special this year, they've got to put together some type of consistent 4-game winning stretch, 5-game winning stretch going into the playoffs. That's really the key, in my opinion. And so we'll see how they respond. I think they got the ability to do it, but it's definitely in their own hands. And they just got to take care of business. They're not worried about Miami. If they do their job, it won't even be a problem.
Agreed. Get us in any final questions here before we wrap up. It's an exciting, situation to be in, that we're frustrated about a, miraculous Hail Mary loss to the AFC or NFC West leading team. And that we're frustrated that we're 7-3 going into the bye. That is a fantastic position to be in. I think it's great to now be in a spot where we can be, as Bills fans, be disappointed and frustrated going into the bye. The good news is on offense coming out of the bye, it's very likely that we're going to get back Mitch Morse, Cody Ford, 100% John Brown, Tyler Kroft. On defense, getting back Levi Wallace, Matt Milano, most importantly, Josh Norman, multiple healthy pieces of what we planned on this team being, and we're 7-3. And having a position where we're going to be favored in 4 out of those 6 games. That's the kind of position that we were hoping that this season would be. And I think that all of my expectations of winning the division, having a home playoff game, winning a playoff game, none of that has changed after today. And a DeAndre Hopkins Hail Mary doesn't change that for me one bit.
No, absolutely. I mean, dude, if you would have asked me 20 seconds before that Hail Mary where my thoughts on this team were, dude, come on. Also, you better go knock on all that beautiful, rich mahogany behind you when you talk about Matt Milano coming back from injury, because if he doesn't come back from injury, I might drive.
It's 100% my fault.
Yeah, to Ohio and slap the face off your face for making the comment here, because it is a concern for me. I want to see him come back. But you mentioned it, man. The Bills have really dodged that injury bullet. So even if he's the one that just can't seem to get back, all the other pieces they are getting back are going to be huge contributions. And then I think we all just, whatever thing you believe in spiritually, think about it and hope that, put some positive vibes out there that Matt Milano comes back, because they're definitely going to need him for this next run.
Yeah, so we appreciate it, guys. You guys have been fantastic. It's been encouraging to be able to survive a chat like this. I think sometimes things can go off the rails a little bit, so you guys are fantastic. If you enjoyed talking here today, or maybe this made it slightly less painful or slightly less bad, tell some other folks about the show. Give us a rating, give us a like, give us a review. Our friends over at T-Shirt University are going to be doing another giveaway coming out of the bye. So give us a rating or review. We're going to go out there and pick some folks out to be able to win a T-Shirt University gift card. It's going to be, a great end of the season here. It's frustrating to go into the bye with a loss, but I think several people have brought it up here, including Aaron, that maybe this isn't a bad thing to be able to give them that fire in their belly and that burn, to know that it hurts and to know what that hurt feels like, and to do everything possible to be able to set themselves up for a really exciting run to end the year here. And I think that that's what we have in front of us here. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah,
I'm really excited to see how they respond to this. And a lot of people are asking here, cover one, we don't get a break during the bye. We'll be back, right? We're still doing our Wednesday show. So you'll see us on the bye. You won't probably see us post game because there won't be a game, but you'll definitely see us midweek here. We'll have something to talk about with you guys. So we're not going to leave you hanging for 2 weeks.
Absolutely. And we're going to be able to bring some interesting content. And I have a couple ideas for what we'll do on Sunday, getting together, just talking about the other games and the things that impact the Bills of what they're going to be rooting for. So, Aaron, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me, if you're going to play nice here for the next 2 weeks, you can find me at Aaron Quinn 716, having fun on the Twitter box. And most importantly, you can find me in the Slack channel.
Absolutely.
Slack channel.
Come and find us there. It's a ton of fun. It's a great environment to be able to be in. It can help you survive a day like today. Thank you to our sponsors at West Her. Thank you for our presenting sponsor, Uncle Jumbo's. Thank you for Aaron, and I am Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.